Welcome aboard! We will be your guides during this magical journey into the movies. It's the perfect job for us because we love the movies. It's showtime! Ready when you are, CB!
Action!
Welcome to Monoreel Radio, episode number 378. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are here this week to review and discuss Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior as it celebrates its 20th anniversary. I am going to go full disclosure here, no offense to Brenda Song, but until we talked about the Sweet Life movie and until I realized that she is legally Mrs. Macaulay Culkin, I did not know who Brenda Song was. And I feel like, without getting too much into my review of the film, I feel like that's doing her a discredit. Because when you think about DCOM actors and actresses, off the rip, you know people like a Vanessa Hudgens, you know the Jonas Brothers, you know a Zac Efron. Brenda Song is not one that typically comes up a lot in conversation. So, I was really interested to sit and watch this film and break this film down in regards to her being a leading lady.
I'm actually going to disagree with you there because I feel like we just sort of aged out of her peak popularity.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
I very much knew the name independent of her marrying Macaulay Culkin. I knew she was like a Disney Channel legend. I just didn't know why, because I hadn't seen her work. And then when we did Sweet Life on Deck, that was or the Sweet Life movie rather, I was like, oh, I totally get it now, because she was a scene stealer. And then as soon as we saw that she was in this, that's what made us decide to review it. We saw it had the anniversary coming up, and we were like, oh, okay, let's deep dive Brenda Song.
All about it. But yeah, I'm very interested to talk about this. Is this something that is this a role that sort of propels her into leading lady? Was she wasted in the Sweet Life movie? And should she and could she be doing more today? I think that, on top of many other things, is what we are here to discuss today.
This episode is sponsored by Where in the Park. Our friends at Where in the Park make seek and find card games designed to play in the theme parks and turn your day into an interactive adventure. Game packs come with a deck of cards, each with an image on it that is hidden somewhere in the theming of the park, helping you to discover details you've probably walked past 100 times. Where in the Park game packs will spark curiosity, encourage connection, and make every visit to the parks even more memorable. Visit monoreelradio.com and click on our affiliate link to purchase your game packs at a discount.
Wendy Wu is a popular, spoiled, Chinese-American student living in California. She is trying to be the homecoming queen, but her longtime rival Jessica is standing in her way. One day, a Buddhist monk named Shen arrives in Fair Springs, her hometown, to find her. Wendy's mother works as a museum curator and is putting together an exhibit on ancient China, and one night a mysterious magical box arrives and is placed with the artifacts. That same night, Shen arrives at the Wu home and tells Wendy that she is a warrior born in the Wing dynasty, sworn to defeat evil, and that it is her time to return. Wendy throws him out of the house, while the ancient box at the museum unleashes chaos. A spirit emerges from a glowing globe and possesses a nighttime security guard who finds a picture of Wendy and her brother Peter and takes it to track her down. However, her brother works as a pizza delivery driver, and he shows up to the museum to deliver a pizza. And he too becomes possessed to pursue Wendy. He returns home to take Wendy's soul into the globe, but Shen sees what's happening and fights him off. Upon seeing Shen's talisman, the spirit exits Peter and moves on to the family dog Cupcake. The next morning, Wendy awakens to see that she is wearing said amulet and decides to leave it home. Shen enters the house to see Wendy's grandmother has found the amulet, and upon learning that Wendy is a warrior, she asks Shen to protect Wendy. Shen follows Wendy to school and explains the situation to her and tells her that he is there to protect her and train her to defeat Yan Lo. And that this goes back every 90 years, Yan Lo comes back to try and wreak havoc on society and gets banished by a warrior of her lineage. Meanwhile, Cupcake arrives at the school and possesses the school principal. Wendy cares less about her training and only cares about becoming the homecoming queen. At school, Shen, now exposed to everybody as Wendy's cousin, arrives and fights off Yan Lo, who is in the principal, and this Yan Lo now jumps into the body of Wendy's history teacher. This Yan Lo is going to jump body to body to body. That's sort of how Yan Lo moves about. As it turns out, Wendy's grade in her history class would disqualify her as a homecoming candidate, as all candidates must maintain a good average. Shen offers to tutor Wendy in exchange for her wearing the amulet at all times, which she agrees to do, as well as train as a warrior. She begins to meditate and focus her mind and gets her grades up. Shen is excited to further her training, but Wendy only cares about being the homecoming queen. Shen follows her home, where the entire family meets him and assumes that he is a long-lost relative on a brief visit, while her grandmother covers up the truth of his identity. While the entire family starts to accept him, Wendy's father gets a bit standoffish. Well, as it turns out, he feels incredible guilt for rejecting their Chinese culture in earlier life. As Shen grows closer to Wendy, her boyfriend Austin grows concerned that Shen will hurt their image, causing friction between the two of them because they only care about being the homecoming king and queen. That night, Shen and Wendy discuss how Shen has lived many lives over, and that it is his destiny to die when she battles Yan Lo. So Wendy decides to show him a fun time and allow him to be a real teenager for a little bit longer. She breaks up with Austin but gets jealous at a party when another girl kisses Shen. She pulls the amulet off and is followed by Yan Lo, who has now possessed her best friend Tori, and presents the globe and starts to take Wendy's life source in. Shen intervenes and Wendy fights Yan Lo off and decides it is now time to take her training more seriously. Shen presents her with 4 small statues: the tiger for aggression, the snake for flexibility, the leopard for speed, the crane for balance. He also then summons a dragon tattoo on his arm for invincibility. Each statue brings a monk to life to act as her teacher. However, Wendy does not want to be trained by said monks, as she is afraid that it will hurt her image. So Shen possesses her school teachers to train her instead. She uses all of her tools to come together as a complete warrior. Her friends call her to tell her that she has won the race for homecoming queen, and she asks Shen to take her to homecoming. However, he has to break the news to Wendy that the battle that she is scheduled to have with Yan Lo happens to be at the same time as homecoming, infuriating Wendy. Yan Lo, now as her rival Jessica, goes to the museum and awakens these clay soldiers that have been kept in the exhibit. They are hidden as these ancient statues. They are coming to life. Shen goes to battle Yan Lo alone, as Wendy has decided to claim her crown at homecoming. The monks, as her teachers, arrive to talk Wendy into joining Shen, who is fighting by himself. They arrive together to fight Yan Lo and save the world. During the battle, her grandmother arrives and provides Wendy's great-grandmother's robe for her to wear during battle. One by one, the monks destroy the warrior statues as Wendy fights Yan Lo. She extracts the demon from Jessica and sends her to Homecoming so that she can accept the crown instead. Well, Yan Lo materializes using all of the pieces of the broken statues and begins to kill Shen. Wendy, using all of her abilities, fights Yan Lo and puts the power of the dragon into Shen. Together, they defeat Yan Lo forever. With destiny changed, the monks move on to their next life, while Shen is left to live out his final life until its completion. This, for a DCOM, has, like, National Treasure, Indiana Jones-esque plot going on. I mean, there is a lot going on. I mean, I spend less time talking about most Marvel and Star Wars movies than I did laying out the plot for this DCOM.
I feel like this is about to be a really interesting discussion, though, because to your point, there's so much going on. And I feel like of all the DCOMs we've watched, this one is asking us to suspend the most disbelief. And yet, I like it and I don't know why. And I didn't want to give that much away up front, but I'm hoping to figure out, like, to really put my finger on what it is. I think a lot of that is because of Brenda's song and because she's just so talented and so endearing. But like, I the first time I watched this, you know, within the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, we're in for it with this one. Like, we might have found the worst DCOM of all time. And like, I came away after the first viewing and I was like, that actually wasn't so bad. And I was like looking forward to seeing it again.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said that, because when I watched it the first time, I thought to myself, oh good, what the February ain't got nothing on this. And then when I watched it the second time, much like when I watched a movie like Mars Needs Moms, I went, you know, there's an awful lot to this. More so than I got out of it the first time. And this movie is far better when you watch it twice through.
So let's get into it. Off the rip, this first shot in the garden, I was like, oh, Disney spent money. I wasn't sure if they traveled to a location at first, because there are like Asian gardens in California, particularly in Northern California. There's a lot of them. So I was like, all right, they might have just taken the show on the road. And they did. I know they filmed a little bit of this in Modesto, but they also filmed in New Zealand. So I'm not sure exactly where this opening scene took place. But it was very impressive as far as just the overall setting and the costumes.
Oh, the costumes are great from start to finish. Like martial arts monks. Like, I'm intrigued from the start. And you have to understand something. People of a certain age, when we see things like this, I mean, yes, it's 2006, so it's sort of a few years removed, though not completely, from Rush Hour and Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Like, these kind of movies in regards to pop culture, very popular at the time, so it's not a total surprise that Disney would lean in this direction.
Absolutely. The only thing that I wanted more out of in this scene, I just wish that the monks had mirrored what the teachers eventually pick up from the statues. Like, you do see one of them clearly do the crane pose, but like, I wish we had a little bit more of the snake and the what was it, the cheetah for speed. Like, I wish each of them had done one of those specifically, because they're later going to inhabit the teachers.
Right.
So it would have been nice to introduce them that way up front. But I do like this transition through the drawing to Wendy's intro. I thought that was really, really cool. And I thought it was interesting how in the parchment drawing, she looks so contemporary as we see her now. But when she does the self-portrait of her with the homecoming queen, like, not only does she look so much more regal, but it looks like the ancient version of herself.
Yeah. So I want to, before we move on, I do want to comment on something that you just said, because I feel like it's important to point this out early, because it ran the risk for it being an underlying theme the entire conversation. You talked about how you have images, specifically with the teacher, of doing the crane. The teacher is referred to as the crane at one point. At no point in either of my viewings did I feel like this pulled anything from the Karate Kid franchise. And I would have thought for certain that this would have completely ripped off certain things, or done like the, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore, wink, wink, nod, nod. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would have completely ripped something off of Karate Kid. This movie does not do that at all. I give it so much credit for it being completely unique and on its own.
Agreed, because that's exactly what I thought the intent was on my first viewing. I really thought Disney's pitch was, we've got this incredibly talented girl. Why not do the female Karate Kid, especially because that early 2000s, you know, we were in that Lizzie McGuire, Hannah Montana era, and they were leaning into the girl power of it all because they were pushing these young female artists. Right. So why not do that with a movie when you've got another star on your hands here, and do something a little bit different than a musical?
Right. Now, with all of that being said, it's very DCOM at the beginning. And by that I mean they are fleshing out characters very quickly. They're mostly archetypes of what you expect them to be. I thought that it was funny how, like, none of these people, including her mom, who gets, you know, introduced as somebody that's a museum curator that's setting up this exhibit on ancient China, how none of them whatsoever have any knowledge of what their ancestry is. Like, I don't know that it works. I think it works for the end of the film in that everybody has this full circle moment. And I think it bucks the trend of, like, was it 10 Things I Hate About You? That the girl was trying to shake the image of being like the, like, typical Asian American student. I think it was 10 Things. I could be wrong about that. No, it was the hot chick. Okay, it was the hot chick. But still in a vein.
There were a lot of problems with the way that they went about it, but that is sort of what I was thinking about too.
The problem is, like, that's great if that's where you're going to bring these characters. By 2006, it's outdated, but where it falls on its face is the mother is a museum curator that knows nothing about what she's being paid to do.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you bring this up now, because to touch lightly on the mother, because I want to circle back around to that, but I do have another point that I want to make. Like, how do you even get that job without the basic knowledge of the culture? Whether it's your own or not, you have to have a very thorough understanding of it. And she's like, I don't know how to write this report.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to put a pin in that. And maybe I dare bring that back up later. But that was the only, that was what gave me the biggest eye roll of this movie, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I agree. Same for me.
Was the parents.
Yeah.
My note on the exact point that you're making is that when we first meet Wendy, it would have been really nice to start unpacking how she feels about her culture, because there's a throwaway line, as you were talking about, they're introducing all of these archetypes with the friends. and they're like, oh my God, this class is so boring. And at first, I thought it was like an Asian studies class or something, because the question that is asked of her is, what is the mountain range in China? Or then I thought maybe it was just a geography class. It's a world history class. So this would have been a really good place to introduce a conflict, maybe an internal conflict, because you can see just by the way the character dresses. And I think a lot of that has to do with just, it was a 2000s DCOM. I mean, the nostalgia is all there in the main cast wardrobe. But if we're looking into the character at this point, which we should be, she has clearly become Americanized in the way that she dresses. And the fact, that gets peeled back a little bit more, that she is participating in the homecoming court. Forget the popularity, forget about all the superficial stuff. We're just talking about where Wendy's interests lie. So, at this point, it just would have been nice to explore how she's feeling about it, because I feel like the trope is that you're embarrassed by the culture. And I feel like that's something that got written to. Like, you did reference the hot chick. That's exactly how it was written to there, that she shunned her culture because she was embarrassed by her parents. But here, it gets a little bit more complex because the parents have also shunned the culture.
Correct.
And we get their point of view. But I feel like this should have been such a bigger source of conflict in a multi-generational household.
Yes.
They missed the mark with this one, where it could have been a really interesting, really deep conversation. Or like with something like with Chang Can Dunk. They handled that beautifully.
Right, or even in Turning Red. Like, you've got films that have done it brilliantly. And this, where it's like you're sort of tiptoeing around it, but you're either in or you're out. I feel like by the time we realize that we should be accepting our culture and our past and our history, it's over a mooncake, and that's the biggest motivation. And it's like, it seems, no pun intended, half-baked. Like, it just doesn't seem like it built to that. It seemed like we have to write this in now because we don't have enough screen time for any of these characters to really care about it. But we're also going to conveniently forget that Mom's entire career is based upon something she has no idea about. You can't fake your way through what her mother is doing. It would have been funnier, and you could have used this if she was tapping into the grandmother, her mother, to do her job for her. You could have, number one, played it for comedy. You could have, number two, saved Mom's career, at least, because you buy the fact that they would keep her on the payroll. Or
save face, at the very least.
That is correct. And you can do the generational divide. It's not hard to do. Trust me, you could have very easily written that into this movie. And honestly, for a DCOM, to walk away saying, that's the biggest problem we have, I think that says a lot about how strong the rest of the movie is. Now, maybe I'm only speaking for myself, but I think that's for lack of a better term, the worst part of the movie, and everything else from there is quite strong.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everything, it's just very surface level when they could have done something really interesting and impactful with it. I want to circle back one more quick thing about the mom, and then we'll move on. What was really funny to me was that the first time she says, oh, my mother was always trying to, this is in the museum when Wendy is, what can I do to beat Jessica? And she's half listening to her mother. Much like her mother admits half listening about the culture and the lessons that her mother tried to instill in her. So the second time I'm watching it, I had to take a beat and I was like, wait a second. I was like, did her mother pass? Is the mom at home? Is that like the paternal? No, that's her mother. That's her mother. She's just literally saying that she ignored her mother throughout most of her childhood and continues to do so now until she needs something. But I love that they redeem the grandma because she says, just because you don't miss something doesn't mean that it's missing. And to me, that's such an important theme of the movie, but we really don't have all of these characters motivated by the time they decide to embrace it. Like you said, the moon cakes, the moon pies, not enough of a reason. Even, and I'm going to hit on this again later, so we'll put a pin in it for now, but even when Wendy decides to embrace her culture, we don't really see why. It's because she's been told to, but we don't see a moment where she decides for herself that this is what she wants. So I just, yeah, they really missed the mark with that one. We've been talking about home life a little bit. This house is so cool. I love the design. I mean, I realized this was not, the inside may have been a set build, but it matches the outside perfectly. I just love the design. I love the decor, and it works so well for these fight choreography scenes. That's where it reminded me most of a Jackie Chan movie, because they start, we'll get into, they use what they've got right in front of them in the fighting.
Yes. And obviously, Brenda Song is going to have a stunt double throughout the filming of the movie, right? However, where you see that it's her early on, it's before we get into the martial arts. It's when she's sort of tapping into what she can actually do, like when she's playing soccer. You can see it's her doing certain things. Her stunt work is very impressive. That was the first thing I took away. I'm like, man, I get that they're obviously, there's cords and wires involved in some of this, but she's still doing a lot of this. And that's when I thought to myself, this is going to be a step up for her, because we have a very small sample size of what she can do, and this is going to plus her up as a leading lady.
Yeah, I really like when you start seeing the powers creep in, like in the museum scene with her mom. She's, you see her reflexes a little bit. To your point, the soccer, like that was very impressive, because it's not just all the martial arts that she was asked to do. Like even her soccer dribbles looked really, really good. Really impressed by her. One thing I'm not impressed by, our typical DCOM 101 writing. Wendy has just gotten through baking 500 cupcakes with the help of her dad. She's going to pass them out in her efforts to campaign for Homecoming Queen. And she turns on the weather, or not turns on the weather. The TV is on, and she's on the phone, and she goes, "Oh, it's Jessica's guest weather report." Like, this is the most natural thing ever, that students are just guest spotting on the local news channel. Like, and it, just the way that she calls it out, just so 101 in the dialogue. Like, I would have bought that. Like, they do this on local news all the time, where like they'll visit schools or they'll have students come in. But it's typically because they're doing a project or a fundraiser or a charity or just something where they can do an interview. So like if they had just done a news package, or Jessica was on the news campaign, like it could have just been as easy as, my daddy owns the news station and I got a spot. But the guest weather report, that took me out.
They made it seem like it's something that happens all the time. And she just happened to be the one that got it this time.
Mind you, it's a guest weather report spot at 11 p.m. at night, because how long did it take you to bake those? Okay, we bake the cupcakes. Then we've also got the pizza delivery to the museum after closing. Like, you have to be at least 10 p.m., if not 11 at night.
Well, it's not only that. To your point, we've also got Shen, who has found his way to the house. Now, we've already put the idea out there that Yan Lo can possess whoever he wants. When Yan Lo possesses her brother, who's working as a pizza delivery boy, I said, oh my god, this is brilliant. That's the way into the house. And and Shen is just meditating on the front lawn. He's not hiding. I mean, unless somebody's staring out the window, they're not gonna see him. But Shen is just hanging out there, and nobody realizes it. That takes me out of it more than Jessica doing a guest spot. Because at least, if I put on Good Day Orlando, I see kids doing guest spots with the Storm Truck or the Thunder Truck or whatever they call it. I get it, it's late at night, but to me it's more distracting that Shen is just meditating on the front lawn and nobody thinks so. Like, it's not weird to anybody.
Yeah, this is where things started going off of the rails for me. And I think that it's either because scenes were cut or they took it upon themselves in edit to sort of reshuffle the deck a little bit. Like they always say that films are written 3 different times. The first time is with the script, the second time is with the direction, and the third time and your last line of defense is the edit. And I feel like we fell victim to the editors taking a little bit too much liberty, because here's where the story, it just feels out of order. I wish that this isn't necessarily out of order, but I think there was a little bit of a missed opportunity because Shen is going to have grandma as an ally, which is great. I just wish that they would have used that as the way in. Instead of just having him meditate, I wish he was trying to like maybe find a way into the house and she saw him and just like let him in the door, or like while everybody's so busy with the cupcakes, like she could have just let him in the front door. But I like that. I like that as a reciprocal relationship. I like that Shen has someone who's going to bat for him. But I also like this for the grandma because the rest of the family has blown off their entire heritage. So at least she has someone in this too. I'm rooting for her. She's like a member of the Disney canon that just does not get enough credit. But yeah, here's where I feel like we're missing some things and it just feels all out of whack. We get to school and she's got all these run-ins with Shen, who's trying to give her the medallion for protection. Obviously we're going to have the school scenes, right? Like this is typical, not just of any DCOM, but in a story like this, where you're trying to hide something, it's always got to go to school and somebody's going to get busted. But what I wish is that they had kept the through line of Homecoming more alive here, because it just dies. We talk about Homecoming all the time, but we don't see it. So instead of like going to class, what about like if you're in Homecoming court, you're on the dance committee, or you're getting like, even if you don't win, like the whole Homecoming court, all of the nominees, they do a parade and they're still involved. So like do something with Homecoming. Like, let me just see some school colors and some kind of school spirit, or like a fundraising event. Like you just baked 500 cupcakes. Maybe you sell them for a fundraiser for the day. I don't know, but just something so we can see Homecoming and not just hear about it. They establish that Shen, the cover up is that Shen is her cousin. So, once Wendy starts to come around and agrees to train with him, her friends say, we're going to go to the mall. Do you want to come? She says yes. And then in the next scene, she's explaining to them on the phone that he's her cousin. So it feels like there's a scene missing in between, or they might have had to do like a pickup shoot as a cover-up with either the phone call or the invite to the mall where she's establishing that he's the cousin. But like, if you went to the mall with them, you would have told them everything, or not the truth, but your version of the truth where he's your cousin. So why we're seeing this phone call later on, it just doesn't make sense. It feels like something was picked up and added in. And then we lose Austin in all of this, the boyfriend. When he comes back, he says, "You didn't call me last night," but it's been 2 days since we've seen him. So something happened here, and the story just isn't tracking.
Yeah. Something here that was fun for me was when the girls are on their way to school and they're talking about a boy that may like one of the girls, and they say he IM'd me. And kids nowadays would not know what an IM is. Now it's a DM or a text, probably more likely a DM, but that made me laugh to hear somebody say he IM'd me. Kind of brought me back to a place in time. But to comment and to mostly agree with what you said, yeah, when you think about, and you know I have to bring it up, this is like
Batman or Ghostbusters. Here it comes, folks.
No, it's Back to the Future, but you're close. If all we did was talk about the Enchantment Under the Sea dance and not see it, it would leave people saying, "Wait, what?" And that's exactly what happens here with Homecoming.
Yep.
You know, it's a great moment at the end where Wendy decides that being the homecoming queen doesn't matter and she gives it up to Jessica. That's her character arc. But we never see it. It's like if we watched Prom Pact and never saw prom.
Yes.
You can't make something an entire character's motivation and then not see it.
Especially when it's in the title of the film.
Correct.
Like, that's one of the things that I bumped on the most. So here's another area where I feel like there's a missing piece. Jessica says that Wendy's basically going to be disqualified because her grades aren't up.
Right.
What I really like is that we're not doing the typical mean girl thing here, where it's really a put down. I mean, we know what Jessica is trying to do here, right? But I love that they're both saying it with a smile to each other, but not even being passive aggressive, not even taking little digs at each other. Like, they are both trying to keep up the pretense of being just these nice girls who would never hurt a fly, while wanting to take each other down. So I feel like that's something that we see a lot of, and I like the way that they made it feel different here. But it is a major plot point. Wendy's got to get her grades up. So now, of course, she decides, or not decides, her weakest class is world history. So now she's got to pick it up. And, you know, this is the motivator because of Homecoming, but this would have also been a really great place to be a motivator for learning her culture. And it would have been nice to see Wendy start to enjoy what she's learning. Instead, Shen's brilliant advice is to just feel it from within. So we see her meditate. There's a montage of meditation where she's supposed to just know everything, where the grades are going to come to her, instead of actually seeing her learn it. Like, and wouldn't that be great too if we saw her and her mom like studying together, maybe with grandma, and bring it back to the family and embracing their culture? And instead, it just, there was so much missed opportunity here, and we're also saying so much that we're not seeing.
Well, and to me, what I'm distracted by as I was watching this the first time, and even more so the second time, is that if all she's going to do is meditate and pull it all in, what you need to do, in my opinion, which doesn't mean most to anybody, or which doesn't mean a lot to most, I should say. But if she's going to meditate and bring it all in, then it should be her taking in her culture, which, to your point, doesn't happen. I feel like that was just a means of them pushing the story along. More to the point, I'm fine if she's going to just go along with the training with Shen to get what she wants out of it, which is to be the homecoming queen.
Yep.
Ditching training should have meant ditching Shen.
Exactly.
And that's not what happens. She ditches training, but starts to, like, take an interest in Shen and then take a romantic interest in Shen. And the problem here is that I Googled it, which is a stupid thing to do, but I did it anyway. It's not clearly defined enough on surface level as to whether or not he's actually a distant cousin or not. And if you search it, he is referred to as her cousin.
Oh, no.
Which gives a really, like, creepy layer to this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a backstory that they made up, or if he is literally a distant cousin. Now, he's lived 1,000 lifetimes, but that doesn't change the fact that it's kind of uncomfortable to see.
Especially because they write to that, too, at the party.
Correct. So, like, if you're going to ditch the training, it should have meant ditching him, and there should have been some drama baked into that instead.
No, and then instead we get this scene where he comes over for dinner. I love how the scene opens up where, because she's starting to, quote unquote, learn her world history, and we're supposed to buy in her history by extension. So she asks her grandma what she misses most about China. Like, we should have had so much more of this. They should have unpacked it so much more. I know I've said that ad nauseum. But then we have Shen over for dinner because, grandma believes not only does she believe what's happening, she knows it to be true. She's the only one who knows it to be true. So of course she's going to invite him in, and she's going to keep up the ruse of, he's a distant relative. That way he can stay at the house and he doesn't have to stay outside and meditate. This scene, I feel like, should have been moved way up.
Yes.
Like, this should have been like day 2 of Shen's presence there, because now he's in with grandma. Grandma's going to start pushing you to embrace your training and embrace your culture and believe what he's trying to protect you from. And that would have been more of a buy-in for Wendy to go along with this instead of just the shallow reason to get her grades up.
But how else are we going to bake the shopping montage in? If we spend time fleshing that out, we have no time for the shopping montage.
Well done. Well done. That was the perfect response. Yeah, because of course these outfits though were something else.
But look, at the end of the day, you do have to remember this is still a DCOM. So they're trying to target a certain demographic. So I'm willing to forgive a little bit of it, but the outfits were such a time capsule and they're so outrageous. But kids, if you're watching it now thinking, God, he looks dumb, could you imagine going into school and seeing 500 people dressed like that? Because that's what it was like in the early to mid 2000s every single day.
I think you're being awfully generous. These outfits were in sync 1999. Their Rolling Stone cover was not as loud as these outfits.
But Jack, he went from monk to hunk. What a great line. And I'm not even going to lie to you. It's so bad, it's good. It's so stupid, but perfect. I love that they wrote it in there. It made me so happy to hear. I laughed my ass off both times I heard it because it's too bad to not be completely brilliant.
You are so lucky that we are not a video podcast, because that would have been my isolated social media clip for you.
It would not have been the worst thing I've said on this show.
No, probably not. Oh gosh. No, it's what's just funny to me though. They really hit on this well in that Disney High book that I read, how with Miley in particular, because she was so influential, Disney knew that, young girls were going to be trying to emulate this style. So they didn't want, even with the Hannah Montana, I'm not talking about Miley Stewart, the character, I'm talking about Hannah Montana. They didn't want the pop outfits to be too over the top. Like, they didn't want them to look like what Britney or Christina would wear,
Right.
obviously, because those were too hypersexualized, but also because they wanted it to be attainable for young girls to be able to put those kind of outfits together. So it was funny how aware of that they were for the females. And then with this scene, they just went way over the top, because no guys were dressing like that. That was a specific look for boy bands, the way that they had this poor kid dressing.
Let's talk about something else that happens here that just seems completely unmotivated. Dad, okay? Dad. At one point, I thought Dad had been possessed and we just hadn't seen it, which would have been great, by the way. He walks away from the table, upset over the mooncakes, and has this come-to-Jesus moment where he now regrets having given up on his Chinese culture. That's fine. Dad, earlier in the film, had kind of, joked off not knowing or caring about his future, to the point where he was sort of doing things and making jokes that, had it been a Caucasian actor, you would have called, cultural appropriation. But Dad in this movie is able to do it. He's Asian American, and he's kind of laughing it off. Well, he has this whole full circle moment, right? It's a bit unmotivated. I'm fine with it. Because then Mom starts to regret brushing off her own mother. Forget the fact that she's terrible at her own job. She starts to brush off or to feel remorse for brushing off her culture, her heritage, her ancestors, etc., and so forth. The whole thing, though, the whole heart of this full circle thing for both of these characters comes a bit undone after the shopping montage, because Shen is talking to Wendy and he's thanking her for taking him shopping. I don't know if it's meant to be a joke or not, because it's not very clearly defined if it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, but he talks about how he's lived all of these lifestyles. He has never been a teen before in the traditional sense. And he thanks her for getting her clothes because all he's ever worn is, as he puts it, this stupid robe. This entire character is built on honor, heritage, and destiny. For him to refer to it as this stupid robe, I'm starting to think now he's getting westernized, and now Wendy's going to have to step in and bring him back to center. None of that happens.
Right. No, you're absolutely right, because with the parents, it's unmotivated. They try to write to it in the throwaway lines of, oh, we should have paid more attention. We should have been more involved. We should have embraced it. We should have appreciated it. I can't even really say it's part of the character arc, because there really is no resolution. My exact note to what you were just talking about was the magic moon pies changed everything.
Basically.
you could maybe make the argument that just being in Shen's presence and seeing how much Shen appreciates his culture maybe softened his stance a little bit, but not enough for the complete breakdown of shoulda, woulda, coulda. Like there should have been a little bit more remorse from the parents, or some other instance that happened where they realized that they were wrong, and then that they owed grandma an apology, and then maybe started to embrace the culture a little bit more, maybe more through Shen. But you're right, he's got to be the rock in this, and he's sort of selling out. You know, it would have made sense if the more time that he spent with them, the more the parents gravitated toward the culture. But now you completely rip him out of his element.
Right. And
so it's like too much going on, and we're focusing on the wrong things.
And you could have done so much with that, because in the same conversation, basically, this is where we learn that Shen is going to die. It's his destiny to die.
Right. And it's not just because he's lived all these lives and he knows what's coming, but that has to do that is the culture. It's what you believe. He could have broken out of it literally a thousand other times, and he doesn't. Like, that's the lesson that he's there to teach. But that's what it should have taken to get the parents to realize. And we get it in the scene before we learn this information. It's just, again, it's all over the place. Do we want to talk about this party in the middle of the day?
Yes, we will. Like you did in high school, an afternoon party.
I mean, I can understand. All right, we want it to be well lit, maybe. We're going in the pool, but we have seen kids get thrown in the pool before at night, and it works just fine. I can't for the life of me understand why they would throw a party in broad daylight. And also, what another missed opportunity. This could have been building homecoming floats.
It just feels very DCOMS sanitized, right? Like, that's sort of how it feels.
It's a sanitized party. Of course, we're not going to see the kids, but like, this is again where it should have been the homecoming through. It should have been some sort of homecoming event that they're getting ready for. You still could have had the dance. You still could have had a moment where Wendy gets jealous of Shen interacting with other women. You could have done this anywhere. You could have written to anything, but it just would have, again, been nice to see that homecoming thread kept alive, especially because when we find out that she wins, it is so anticlimactic. It happens in yet another phone call. Phone calls, and I am sure that I have talked about this on the show before, they are just a weak excuse for writing dialogue because nothing is happening visually. They are literally just there for exposition. Unless you are Liam Neeson, a phone call is not interesting.
Yeah. Right. Or Colin Farrell, because there's a whole movie that takes place in a phone booth. Like, that's it.
Fair.
That's it.
I'll give you that one. But yeah, it just, like, it sucked the air out of the room. You're building and building. Well, you're not really building because you're talking about a homecoming that we're never going to see. But this, like, seals the fate of that by telling her that she won. And I get it. You're all best friends. You got the inside scoop because you counted the ballots, whatever. It's just, this was the thing that she wanted. And I realize that Wendy's character arc is realizing, sometimes what you want and what you need are two totally different things. So it works in that regard. But we are still going to have the final battle take place the night of the homecoming dance. You still need to feed into homecoming a little bit more.
And the thing is, similar to Back to the Future, where Marty's going to spend a week in 1955 because we at least know when the Enchantment Under the Sea dance is. They keep talking about homecoming. They never mention when homecoming is, yet Shen knows the entire time that the battle's going to take place on the same night. I understand they're trying to build that aha moment for the audience, and I do think that it pays off because now Wendy, who's starting to accept her culture, she's accepting her role, now has to pick between one or the other. But the fact that they never mention when homecoming is, Shen just knows because Shen. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, they keep talking about it, but we don't see it. We don't see a date for it. We don't see posters for it. We just know homecoming.
Ooh, that's a really great point. That's such like an easy set design piece to do signage for dances. And we don't. And
every high school movie does it.
Yeah, it's always like some generic sign for a generic dance, unless it is, to your point, like Enchanted Under the Sea, where it's like baked into the plot. But like, it didn't even have to be a hard date. It could have been, like the full moon for homecoming or whatever. And like that, I mean, you obviously know it's going to be the same night that Shen is supposed to sacrifice himself. It could have been something like really generic.
Dance Saturday. That's all. One sign. School dance Saturday. Every high school movie does it.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually, I mean, I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but it was always usually in conjunction with a football game. Like you had, at least for us, we had like the football game on Friday night and then the homecoming dance Saturday, or like vice versa. It was a whole homecoming weekend.
We would do the game and the dance on the same day. When it was on Saturday, we would do the game in the afternoon and the dance would be at night.
And then everybody had to go home changing her. No, I'm wrong, actually. I think the dance was Friday night, and then because then we would have like all day Saturday to set up like our booths for all the clubs and stuff, and then the game. But regardless, like there were just so many things, the next home football game, like you could have had all that signage and you just didn't.
Because it would also be the pep rally, too. It would be the pep rally into the homecoming game, into the dance. It's a whole thing. Right.
And again, that's what I'm saying about the party. It didn't have to be a party. That could have been pep rally easily. And we could have seen, like, it's not just homecoming that needed to be kept alive. The campaigning didn't really get kept alive other than getting her grades up. Like, that would have been great to see Jessica and Wendy go at it, like in... it didn't have to be like a whole debate, but like just something at a pep rally where they're trying to like show each other up a little bit. We are skipping ahead a little bit because we do get the training montage with the teachers. And this was something that I meant to bring up before when you mentioned that you thought the dad was possessed at one point. I actually really like how it kept jumping from character to character.
Me too.
I feel like that's something I would typically hate happening. I don't know if I'm just having like a really weird, lenient week, but for whatever reason, I actually enjoyed it. And that's just something like I thought I would hate because I normally do. I don't know.
No, I liked it.
Feeling generous this week.
I liked it. I like how they jumped from person to person, how Yan Lo was constantly on the run, and that it, like, after a while, even though you knew eventually he's going to possess Jessica, like, I like how it kept you on your toes. I just wish that we hadn't seen him possess everybody. It would have been nice a couple of times to have her interact with a character whose eyes start to glow green and be like, oh, he got her! Like, I wish that we would have been on our toes a little bit more. But I did like it. Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Or that something would have happened when Jessica took the picture in the pool and it wasn't a picture of the girl and it was instead, like they were exposed at that point. Like something, there should have been a bigger reaction to that.
Well, then it's Vigo the Carpathian. We've seen that in Ghostbusters too. It's
There's your
literally the
Ghostbusters.
exact, but that exact thing that you're suggesting they do is what they do in Ghostbusters too.
Right. Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking of that in the moment, but you are right.
I do all the time.
Of course you do. Of course you do. You got your mention.
Why am I drippings with goo? Yeah, like that's what it is.
So we get the teacher training montage, which this is where you really see how talented Brenda Song is. And we get to see her like fully embracing the moves. She kicked ass.
Yeah,
literally
she did.
And figuratively. She kicked ass.
She was outstanding. She really, really was outstanding.
And you know the teachers are going to come back around, much like you know the museum is going to come back around. I saw that coming a mile away. But it's a cool set for the final battle. I really like the terracotta warriors coming to life.
Great costumes, by the way. They were great costumes.
They were, but can we talk about for a minute? Pause to change it to the robe.
Yes, yeah. You just press the pause button on this major battle so that you could have a costume change. Yeah.
I mean, I get what we wanted. You want to see her in the traditional garb to carry this out. But that's where, being that we were going to blow off the homecoming dance anyway, that would have been nice to see Wendy make the choice. Instead of going to the dance, knowing that she won and she was going to get crowned, she could have said, this means more to me. I want to take you out on a date, Shen. I want you to experience, because they had the whole conversation of, I've never experienced falling in love before. And if she knew that he was going to die, that could have been like a last night for that, like a wish fulfillment for him. So it would have been so much more meaningful to see Wendy initiate that and take lead and bring everything full circle, that she wants to show him what a date is, because he doesn't even know what chocolate is, but do it in a more traditional way. And it would have brought the film a lot more full circle too, because it would have blended the traditional with the contemporary.
But then how else do we get Grandma showing up at the museum? Yeah, this whole thing, like, I
don't. His mom wasn't going to do it.
I love that she ends up in her great-grandmother's robe, but this entire thing is just contrived. I would have rather you ripped off Superman, where she's wearing it underneath her homecoming gown, and she just shows up and tears the gown off, and she's got the robe on underneath, like Clark. You could sit there and say, it's Superman, and it would be like, but you've done 2 other movies at this point, except for the one that you'd expect them to do. So credit for that. The fact that it's just like, she may have been like, wait, time out. Like, when you're play fighting with your sibling and you go, wait, time out. And then you go do something else, and then you go, okay, let's go. That might as well have been the fight with Yan Lo, which is a shame because the fight choreography is phenomenal. The stunt work is great. The use of the set is great. Everything about the fight itself is great, other than the fact that we're going to put a pause in it so she can change her clothes.
Exactly. No, and again, what would have been cool had we seen Homecoming, she has shunned the necklace this entire time. What if she wore the medallion? What if she wore that with her homecoming dress? That's when she finally decided to embrace it. She decided to put it on. The other thing, the battle, so cool. This whole sequence is so cool. And it's a good thing because it does go a little long. I'm not going to say it drags, but I feel like it does go a little long. Wendy, looks within herself to save Shen.
Yes.
Because we get the misdirect, we get a fake ending to the battle, but you kind of know that it's not really over. So she basically employs what she did the same way with the meditation when she was taking the test. She looked within herself for the answer. It just would have been nice to see that earned, because we never really see it earned when she did it for the test. Like, what are you digging out of yourself? Like, what is it that you are looking toward? Like, everybody does have that moment, you know, where you have to dig deep, whether it's, you know, like I'm sure when you run, that's something you really have to tap into. You know, if somebody's got a hard day at work, they have to tap into something to push them through. Like, everybody, no matter what it is, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, there is a point where you have to push yourself through something. So what is it that she is grasping at to push her through this? We still don't know what it is, because we didn't know what it was for the test. I see the callback. I understand what's happening, but we don't know how you did it the first time. Like, we just need, like, was it a moon pie? Like, what? Just something.
Well, to your point, though, we do get a great lesson learned here in Sacrifice, that she's going to take the dragon, the strength of the dragon, the invincibility, which, by the way, if we know that he's already got it, he's already got it. I know it's his destiny to pass it on to her, but you might as well hold up a sign that says foreshadowing.
Yes.
But the fact that she's willing to give that up for him, and that plays a big factor, like, I'm good with all of that. I'm good with the monks moving on to live their afterlife, and this is going to be the final life that Shen gets to live, and I guess the invincibility brought him back once, so it's like an extra life like you get in Mario Brothers, so it's not actual invincibility, it's just for one time. Again, it leads me to ask more questions than to have answers, but I think the lesson is good. I think for the character Wendy Wu, I think the lesson works. The best part about this, honestly, is when the fight isn't over and Shen goes, "I was wondering why I survived." It's probably the best line in the movie. It actually had me belly laughing when he said it.
No, and the first time I saw it too, I was like, shouldn't grandma be so much more relieved that her granddaughter didn't die? And it's like, oh no, wait, but there's more. And that's why, you know, she wasn't celebrating just yet. She knew what was coming. No, I agree with you with Wendy. The only thing that I bump on a little bit is that I feel like for Shen, he's focused so much more on that he gets to stay. And like, that was a big part of the character arc, because he was enjoying being a normal teen, you know, which I don't think that they focused enough on so much as they did him enjoying modern conveniences, because that makes it seem, again, like he shunned the culture just like everybody else. But I'm getting sidetracked. My point is, he's more focused on staying than he is about having mortality now. I feel like that he's going to be mortal gets completely glossed over.
And then the movie's over. It ends very briefly. Let's go for a cappuccino.
And then the last line is, "Let's go this way." And they exit opposite the group, which is just a weird way to end it. I would have been fine landing on cappuccino.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's just a very brief and abrupt ending. For a movie...
Yeah, it needed a button. It needed a button.
For a movie that has done otherwise a very good job, this movie's very layered. And for the most part, it does a good job with each layer. Other than Homecoming being the biggest layer that we just skip, it does a really good job fleshing out this as an adventure film. I mean, that's really what this is. This is an action kung fu movie, is really what this is. It's a thriller, it's borderline sci-fi, but it builds to something and it pays off, and it has no time to breathe, and we gotta get Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on. We're done now. And it's over. For something that otherwise was not without its warts, it certainly had some, and we called them out. Like, don't take what we're saying and confuse it. I think it's actually a really good film in terms of how it's fleshed out. Pacing, it is what it is. It's a DCOM. I'm just surprised for something that really took its time building that you would just be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're over. It's done. Like, it seems anticlimactic. Like, you know how the movie's going to end, but it doesn't seem like we actually get a climax.
You know how they could have done it is if they channeled that through the parents. Had the parents shown up and had to employ something that they learned about the culture that they recently decided to embrace to help their daughter survive, that would have tied everything up in a bow.
You mean like how it's mom's entire career?
Yeah, you know, and that just minutia that it's taking place at her place of work, you know?
In the exhibit that she's curating.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our cast here, starting with the brilliant Brenda Song. Brenda Song is this entire movie. If it was anybody but her, I think this movie probably, I don't want to say it falls flat, because as I said, I think that this has a lot of good things going for it. The warts are what they are. It's a DCOM, but I don't think that I would be so generous and forgiving if it wasn't for Brenda Song. Her stunt work is phenomenal. Her comedic timing, and we saw this in the Sweet Life movie, her comedic timing is top-notch. I think Brenda Song could have done more with Disney. I think that when you take this and look at what she did in the Sweet Life movie, and we've never seen the Sweet Life television show, but if you look at what that character is, you look at what this character is, I think she could have done a lot more. After this, I think she could still be doing a ton with Disney. I found her to be charming, funny, lovable, intimidating, awkward in all the right places. In other words, she just honed in what it meant to be a teenager in a very awkward phase of your life.
She's absolutely incredible. She is so endearing. The stunt work was phenomenal. And I think what impresses me most is her line delivery, because she somehow manages to nail that DCOM or even Disney Channel sitcom specifically. There is a cadence to that dialogue, and she nails it without it being forced. Like, I heard in so many of her words and inflection, like you can hear Miley delivering half these lines. You know how Miley used to talk like this, but it was like really put on and forced.
Yeah.
She manages to like rein in that inflection so it doesn't go over the top in a way that Miley, I feel like over projected sometimes. She just nailed it. She's absolutely incredible. And you will be happy to know she is doing more with Disney, because her and Macaulay Culkin had a little line in Zootopia too.
Oh, well, good to know.
So she's making her way back around.
Shin Kayamada plays Shen. So Shin plays Shen, and I thought he was really good because he, too, when it came to delivering funny dialogue, could do it. When it came to delivering serious dialogue, could do it. And this is somebody who you would think, thinking back on what this movie could have been in regards to what it could have pulled from, he's not trying to be Mr. Miyagi. He's also not trying to be Jackie Chan. He's not trying to be Chief Inspector Lee, right? He's his own character. He's his own person. You don't think that he's a hybrid of either of those things because he's his own thing. And for the thing that he is, I thought he was fantastic.
I agree. What I also really appreciate about the character is that they didn't do the fish out of water thing. They hardly touched on it. It was really just Wendy trying to hide who he was, but they didn't do it at the character's expense, and they didn't do it in a way that was offensive and inappropriate to the culture.
Correct. You've got Susan Chang plays Nina. This is her mother. I want to love this character more. I just can't get past the fact that she is completely inept in her career. It's not the actress's fault. It's the fault of the character. It is the typical clueless parent, but where they really can't afford to be clueless.
It's very hard to redeem her. I do like the scenes between her and her husband, though. I feel like those were the most believable. I believed the chemistry between the two of them, but I just don't. It's very hard to want to root for her when she really doesn't do anything about her situation. She supports her husband when he changes his mind, but like, again, even if they weren't going to address this as it pertains to her job, like, apologize to your mother, for crying out loud. Go hug your mother.
Is this movie canon for the Mighty Ducks? Because the father's name is Kenny Wu. The father, played by Michael David Chen, plays Kenny Wu, the father. Is this canon for the Mighty Ducks?
How did I never realize that?
Woo, 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 Kenny Wu.
All right. Wait. Stick with me here. This was 2006. D2 was 96, I believe. So 10 years.
Yeah,
he could have been a young parent. He could have been a young parent, but he could have done it.
Not that young. She's 16, 17 years old.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, I didn't do the math on the kid.
But we can suspend reality, can't we?
I mean,
other than flip phones, the movie's evergreen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, of all the things you were asking me to do for this movie, that would probably be the easiest.
I don't know how nobody realized it. I don't know if it's a cap tip. I don't know if it's canon, but it's woo, 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 Kenny Wu.
It sure is.
All right.
I do really like the relationship with the dad, though. I mean, he helped her make 500 cupcakes. Like, that's something that's some
Danny Tanner stuff right there, you know?
No, it's some Mike Zalesi stuff right there. I got to tell you, it wasn't baking, but there was a school fundraiser that I was doing one year, and I'm sure you've heard the story. We've not told it on the show, but there's no way you have made it this far without hearing this story. We were selling roses for Valentine's Day as a fundraiser. So we pre-sold them in the cafeteria that day so that we'd know how many to buy fresh, and we were going to go get them from Costco because you could get them a little bit a little bit less expensive than what we were selling them for, and that's how you turn not a profit, but that's how you make the money to fundraise. So we go to Costco and they were out of roses. And when I tell you, my dad, I mean, not just my dad, my mom too, scrambled, absolutely scrambled every florist, every Costco in the area. We ended up having to sub some of them out with carnations, which was not great because we promised roses, but we had to deliver something. But this was one of the scenes that I enjoyed most about the movie, was him helping her bake, just because it is so realistic, and I just found it so relatable.
The moral of
because that's what a good dad does.
The moral of the story, kids, and Josh tomorrow: do not over-promise and under-deliver. Tai Shin plays Grandmother Wu. She is the matriarch, right? Like, which is, it's weird to say because unlike most Disney films, you don't have dead parents. You got two parents and also a grandmother. But to me, the grandmother holds the glue of the family together like nobody else does. And unlike Moana, she makes it to the end of the movie, right? Like, Grandma Wu is just the glue here.
Honestly, you could have done this movie if they had killed off the parents and grandma was raising them. And that's why that actually would have been a really great conflict, because now there's a bigger gap with the cultural divide.
But in a world where this is canon, I don't want to think about woo 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 Kenny Wu.
Oh, that's true. I just killed off Kenny Wu. That's terrible. That's terrible of me. But no, here's the thing. If Brenda Song was not so endearing and such a scene stealer and like carrying the weight of this film on her shoulders, it would have been Grandma's movie. She would have been the redeeming quality of the whole film. But luckily she is balanced out with Brenda Song, and you've got two really strong characters here.
Justin Chan plays Peter, her brother, and I thought he was a lot of fun. I thought he was good for comic relief. I like where they used him. I wish that we would have seen a little bit more of him, because I think that he was actually a very interesting character, but I thought he was quite good in the role.
Agreed. I like that it wasn't your stereotypical sibling relationship. Like, they weren't bickering, they weren't fighting, they weren't putting each other down, they weren't trying to get each other in trouble. You know, like there's that one line, and it was really cute how she tries to blackmail him for sneaking out, but like they do work as a team. And I like that he has his own relationship with Shen independent of Wendy.
Yeah. Then you've got Andy Fisher-Price as Austin, or as they call him in other movies, High School Boy Number 1. He's just, it's not the actor's fault. I don't blame him, but he's literally High School Boy Number 1. This could have been anybody. He's a background character in every high school movie that was ever shot. There is literally nothing special about this character.
No, and I know that was the point. Like, he was supposed to be shallow. And it was supposed to be that, not that he was using her, because he didn't exploit Wendy in any way. It was just that he wanted the picture of their relationship more than the relationship.
And so did she. That door did swing both ways.
But I liked that.
Yes.
I actually really, really liked that. I like that there wasn't a heartbreak. I like that she didn't need getting over the guy to be her motivator. I appreciate all of that. But yeah, I think they just could have done a little bit more with him instead of making him so one note. Like, you could have made him this archetype of a surfer dude for sure, but he didn't have to be one note as far as being a plot device.
So, final thoughts on Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior. I'll go ahead and go first. I think this movie exceeded expectations. I think that in all, it was well executed, not without its warts. It did have some problems that you sort of expect in DCOMS in general. But with all of that being said, I actually thought this movie was a lot of fun. Does it have a ton of rewatchability? For me, no. But it's just because I'm so aged out of it at this point that it's not something that I'm going to go back for. If I was 13, 14 years old, having found this movie for the first time, I'd probably watch this movie a lot. I think that there was enough there. I thought it was unique. I thought Brenda Song was phenomenal. I think for her, this was just a great showcase for what she can do.
I completely agree. This movie is asking a lot of its audience as far as suspending their disbelief for the spiritual elements. It is riddled with story issues, and there is 1,000% a chunk missing. There is a scene cut for time, and do I think it would have really helped the story along? Probably not. But in spite of all of that, I really like this movie, and I really don't do this often. I like it, and I don't know why, because even talking about it, we talked about moments that we enjoyed. We talked about characters and comedy that we enjoyed, but we still, I feel like, found a lot more errors than things that were right. But this is one of those things where it's just, you enjoy it and you don't really have to explain it. But I think for me, most of that is because of Brenda Song, and she's just so darn talented.
Well, we want to know what you have to say about Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior. You can let us know on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio, or you can send us an email, monoreelradio@gmail.com. News of the week is coming up, but first, a quick break.
One of the concepts that has always drawn me to Disney is the idea that storytelling goes hand in hand with travel. So besides my admiration for Walt as a film producer, studio head, and overall visionary, I continue to draw inspiration from him in another area, as a vacation planner. I've been working as an independent travel advisor since 2018, helping couples, families, and even solo travelers plan their dream vacations. But as long as I've been doing this, I've also had clients experience some not-so-perfect vacations, where I've had to help pivot around some unforeseen circumstances like hurricanes and medical emergencies. So even if you're an experienced traveler, booking your trip with me means having someone in your corner to course correct so you don't have to worry if something goes awry. Whether it's a theme park, hotel, or a cruise, I've got you covered for every type of destination, the planned and the unplanned. So visit monoreelradio.com/travel, and I'll be in touch to get started.
We have a full trailer for Disney's Hexed coming out this November 25th. This, to me, I watch the trailer and I go, this is Disney's version of American Horror Story Coven. It's so sanitized version of Coven, but I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I think this is a very fun and unique concept. I know that Disney wants the November release for Thanksgiving. I really wish they would have done this, though, in early October, because I think this would slay Halloween.
Forget October, Sean. I wish that this had come out in 1993. I feel like kids today and younger generations would equate this with getting their Hogwarts letter and, you know, the discovering of the magical powers. But before Harry Potter, our generation grew up with things like Alex Mack and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where these young girls had powers, and I ate those shows up. And this was with, you know, like rudimentary 90s CGI, and they still looked great. So to have this when I was a kid as an animated film, this would have easily been in my top 5 Disney movies. And quite frankly, I think this is going to make me reevaluate my top 10. That is how good the trailer looks. And I really have not done this lately, where I've taken so much stock in trailers, because this is what they're designed to do, right? It's marketing. They want to get you to see the movie. And the IPs lately coming out of Disney have been hit or miss. Now, that's not meant to sound like a diss, because I'm just happy to have IPs at all. You don't get to franchises and sequels and remakes without IPs. So, you know, I don't want to I'm hesitant to place that much emphasis on a trailer, but if there's going to be a film that makes me put my faith in something, this is it. I was excited when I saw the concept of this film, and this trailer just delivered. I cannot wait to see this movie.
God help me if this movie is not good, because I will never hear the end of it, even though I didn't make it. Let's talk about holidays this year. Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party is coming to the Magic Kingdom, running on select dates from November 8th through December 22nd. The International Festival of the Holidays at Epcot will run from November 27th through December 30th. And this, one of the most exciting things, but one of the most thought-provoking things. Disney's Jollywood Nights, coming back to Hollywood Studios, running from November 7th to January 5th. So this, to me, is very interesting. Oh, yes, this is very interesting to me, that Jollywood is having the longest run of all of them, and is running not just through New Year's, but also into the new year. I think Disney is starting to figure out exactly what Jollywood is. We had a great time at Jollywood its first year. We had a better time at Jollywood last year. I think that they're starting to realize exactly what it is. This is an adults cocktail party, and I think that they're trying to really lean into this and not the whimsy Christmas that you get so much with everything else. And I think it's really interesting that we're going to run butt up against Marathon Weekend. We're within a few days of it. I think it makes sense, but it is interesting. While maybe not the most amount of days, just in terms of calendar, this is the one that's running the longest.
Well, I think that might have something to do with it, is because they don't run it as often. They're stretching it out so that more people can experience it. Because here's the thing, you cannot close down both Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios early for non-ticket holders during the busiest time of year, you know, and only have, really, think about it, it's only Epcot you'd have left to go to, because Animal Kingdom closes early too. So you've taken now 3 parks and you're cutting them out at 6 o'clock for non-ticket holders.
Right.
So you have to give people somewhere to go. It's your busiest time of year. So in that regard, it makes sense why Jollywood doesn't have as many nights. But if this is Disney's way of getting more Jollywood events because it's gaining in popularity, I appreciate that they're going about it this way instead of just raising the cap on how many tickets they're selling a night, because then you're gonna run into the same problem you have with Very Merry when you're overselling it, and it feels like the park is at half capacity when, you know, it used to be like 3,000 to 5,000 people for the ticketed events. So smart move. And if this was our great big beautiful tomorrow, then well done, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Monoreel Radio will always be free, but there are many ways that you can support the show. Please leave us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Join the conversation on social media at Monoreel Radio on all major platforms. Share your favorite episodes with family and friends who may enjoy them. And of course, book your next trip with Jackie. Links to everything can be found at monoreelradio.com. We all get one story. Make yours a magical one.
On behalf of Monoreel Radio, we'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of.